Thank you. Climate activists going to the extreme, vowing there will be more high-profile protests that grab attention as they call on global leaders to act after the COP26 climate conference failed to meet their expectations. Here's NBC News correspondent Josh Lederman.
In Glasgow, they marched. Tens of thousands of climate activists demanding change during the COP26 UN Global Summit.
We say no more blah, blah, blah. No more blah, blah, blah. No more blah, blah, blah. No more blah, blah, blah.
Their pleas failing to force world leaders to deliver the decisive action they wanted.
I apologize for the way this process has unfolded, and I'm deeply sorry.
And now?
Even my non-existent hopes were crushed by COP26.
Hopes crushed, but not extinguished. During 15 days of negotiations in Glasgow, leaders promised to end deforestation by 2030 and cut methane emissions by 30%. There was progress on setting up a global carbon trading market and a surprise joint statement from the US and China pledging closer climate cooperation. But countries' greenhouse gas slashing pledges fell short of what scientists say is needed to avert the worst effects of global warming. And a deal calling for phasing out coal was watered down, instead calling for it to be phased down, and not all coal. So with COP26 in the rearview mirror, a global movement of young climate activists is retrenching, trying to funnel frustration and outrage into greater pressure for the world to act.
And so we're here today at the actual United Nations headquarters in New York City to sort of, I think, show them what actual action in an emergency looks like, because clearly from all of the things that came out of COP26, which was basically nothing, they don't know how to act in an emergency.
Presley is with Extinction Rebellion, a global activist movement that says it has more than 1,200 chapters in 80-plus countries. Within days of COP26, they were back at it, temporarily blocking the entrance to UN headquarters in New York. It's just the latest attention-grabbing move by a group that recently blocked the city's FDR Parkway,
Climate justice now.
leading to 13 arrests.
There's groups like Extinction Rebellion that are making change happen just by forcing the issues in front of people in various ways. And we're seeing a lot more protests. We're seeing the youth marches happening all over the world.
Their methods are peaceful, but can be controversial. For decades, high-profile stunts have been a go-to tactic for the environmental left, forcing attention on issues the public would sometimes rather ignore.
So one thing that you want to do when you're in a soft block line is you want to be like linked arms and you want to have your hands.
NBC News got a look at how Extinction Rebellion trains its activists in nonviolent protest and civil disobedience.
The cops should warn you that you're going to be arrested. They should actually give you 3 warnings. And if you are under arrest, you can say, I'm going to remain silent. I want to see my lawyer. So just like one more time that I'm going to remain silent. Yes, thank you.
There's also a heavy dose of climate science, arming activists with the facts.
As a scientific programmer at NAP, so a lot of the times we can come and inform the activism that they're doing because they have to be correct what they're saying, or else, the whole thing's lost. We need to start demanding way more from our leaders, especially from the President of the United States.
Activists vowing the longer governments fail to act, the more intense their protests will get.
Perfect.
Especially as leaders look toward the next UN Climate Summit, now less than a year away.
I think I want COP27 to look more like the people who are actually being affected by climate change.